Hi, I am Rasheed, a coach, speaker, and author of Soul Trader, Putting Heart Back into Your Business. And I'm delighted to be here with another author, an author who is also a coach, speaker, and accountant. Karen Burke, I'd delight to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, it's so good to see you because, Karen, I thought it'd be good to catch up with you and to do an interview with you and just to find out a little bit about your life, your journey, and everything along those lines. And I think it's interesting timing because you've just also published, I think, your first book, The Calming Book of Healing Hugs, which is really
Yes.
exciting. And it sounds very interesting, especially we happen to be recording this on the tail end, hopefully, of a global pandemic where lots of people have not been able to hug.
Yes.
Maybe we should start there,
Okay.
Karen. Actually, well, let me ask you this question first of all. How would you describe yourself for people who don't know anything about you and the work that you do? Let's start there. Could you introduce yourself and what you basically do?
Okay, as Rasheed said, I'm Karen Burke. I do a number of things. I've started off from being an accountant into doing life coaching, into also running businesses at the same time. So with my partner Devon, we run the Mind Body Therapy Centre in SE23 London. We also run a social enterprise, t4h.org.uk. And our latest venture coming out of last year was, writing books. I have written another one. So this is my second book. It's a Power Up for the Year, is the first one for me, which is very much about powering up. As you can tell, I'm very much a go-getter, so and a goal setter. So this is coming out of that first experience in 2018. And then, as Rasheed said, with last year, decided to put all our efforts, myself and Devon, into the Calming Book of Healing Hugs. And I think it's kind of like a new venture for us, or at least for Devon, but for me, it's something that I've always wanted to do back of my mind. So from when I know Rasheed from 2006 times when I started doing my coaching course, and I picked Rasheed to be my coach initially, and again, some certain things that he would always say in a sense of doing things from the heart. And I think I touched base with you again probably about 2012, something like that. I had already jumped out of corporate for a couple of years, and I was a bit frustrated. What have I done? What am I doing? My big accountant money, and struggling in this business and trying to grow the business and everything else. So we started the businesses from about 2009. So it's been quite a journey. I touched base again because I was saying, well, what am I doing? I thought I was going to do accounting and coaching, and that's my working for myself. But now we've got this big massive the centre that's come along, and then we've got this community work that again is coming from the heart, but it's demanding so much of my time. And like, where do I go? What should I do? And I remember you saying, again, you come from the heart. You've got so many people that that are already there that you're touching. So in effect, it's like you're coaching naturally anyway, which I kind of was, being on the front of the house all the time. I was kind of coaching all the time to people that came in, wanted to have a little talk. Usually I would, people, my friends say I do that to my head, and then people just start pouring out things, and then we go and sit down. We have to sit down, and have a conversation. So it's been an interesting and eclectic journey so far.
I mean, it sounds like such a rich journey, and I'd imagine that the first thing that jumped into my head is that given all the things that you've done, Karen, having that background as an accountant must have been very, very, very useful. Can I just ask, did you know from very early on that you at some point wanted to be your own boss? And what gave you the courage to eventually go out and be your own boss? Because it sounded as though you were doing well as an accountant, and then to make that step to be your own boss, especially doing something a bit like coaching or therapy and so on, can often be challenging kind of careers. So did you always know you wanted to be your own boss, and how did you find the journey?
I always knew I wanted to be my own boss, probably around 35 when I was, again, probably reaching, the height of my career, and then I could go another couple of steps in order to be director, etc., get to my 6-figure salary, etc. But it was something that I thought, well, I'd rather be the master of my own destiny. And I know at the time, there were glass ceilings at the time. And I thought, well, I don't want anything to stop me from doing all the things that I love. And one part of me is logic and accounting and facts and figures. But the other part of me is heart and creative and writing poems I used to do from young, and reaching out to young girls, which I used to do, be part of. Even while I was working, I was doing Prince's Trust work as a volunteer. So there was always the other side of me that I felt like I wanted to do it, but also there's not just be an accountant, to be more than that, and also to carry on writing, which I had started creative writing from young. So it was when it was before I met Devon, but there's quite a critical moment, because it was the Wellbeing Network where we met over 15 years ago, whereby he said, oh, I always wanted to start a therapy business. And I thought, well, I didn't mind what business. I knew I wanted to carry on doing accountancy and coaching, but I also didn't mind what other business. So it was like, okay, let's do it then. Let's pull this therapy business together. So at the time I was already doing a 4-day week, and I was doing my coaching at the time. And then we started the business. I went to a 3-day week in corporate, and I thought, okay, we're doing all this thing. Then we started the community group, community social enterprise, actually. And I thought, well, actually, it's either I go for my 6-figure salary now, or I jump out. And that was a critical moment to say, which way do I go? I could have gone either way, because at the end of the day, it was very small incestuous world, and it was only that someone that knew me that didn't sign the second signature on working in Lloyd's, insurance. But at the same time, as someone always says, well, if one door closes, another opens. So I decided now's the time to jump and start go into the businesses more. They're already started, but to put my energy into the business, my business, it was something that I said, well, it's time. Well,
it's fascinating what you're saying, Karen, because I'd imagine, so here you are, you're working not just as an accountant, but you're working for a huge prestigious firm, Lloyd's. You can then get to a very senior level, as we know there can be all sorts of barriers and so on. And not only that, you go out there and become your own boss, but you then decide that you're going to establish a centre, which has huge costs. So did you did you go into that with a logical mind, or just with the creative mind? Was it kind of, I'm just going for this? I mean, that's brilliant, right?
It was as a mixture. Actually, I was working for RBS at the time, but I was going for a job in Lloyd's. But in that respect, I think it was a mixture of both. So it made logical sense to me when we first started. We was at the bottom of a gym, and it made logical sense that if we had a number of therapists that would rent the rooms, we could cover the rent and the reception. In the second jump, where we've got our own premises now, leasing for, well, at the start of 2013 for 15 years, it was heart and logic, because at the time we didn't have the money. So we had to go to different bank accounts and see, okay, could you loan us some money? As the works were going on, we had to refurbish the whole place and, put the rooms in, electrics, plumbing, everything, and make it the centre that we wanted. As soon as people come in, that's exactly what we wanted them to feel, that healing hug. That's where it's coming from. And as people come in, they say they do that. They do that. And it was a mixture of heart and head, knowing that we've got the skills already 5 years into the business, knowing that we've got certain therapists already, knowing that we've done it already in the sense of hiring people, etc., employing people. So it's just a matter of being our total own boss with our own premises. As soon as you come through the front door, it's ours, and we can start selling products and things like that, and have everything out and make it be exactly the space and the energy we want it to be. So when we saw the premises, myself and Devon shook hands and said, okay, as we said in the first place, no matter what it takes. And we believed, we had faith that something I'm writing now, actually, we had faith to believe that it was the right time. It was all aligned. It was someone that was working with us before had said, oh, don't forget to look at that place. And we looked at it. We had been looking around for a couple of years, and we looked at it and we said, there's the right length and breadth and everything. We could get about 6 therapy rooms in there, plus the infrared sauna. So we jumped in. And we believed the rest of the money would come, and it did.
It's really extraordinary what you're saying. And as you know, I love that thing about the blend between their head and heart, and really trusting at that moment.
Yeah.
And sort of blend between patience, planning, and so on. Can I just ask, I'm curious to know about, so tell us about the therapy center. What's the range of the therapies there, and what's the vision behind it?
Yeah, it's a complementary health centre. So the heart and the mind behind it is, and the vision is, as we said, as soon as people come in, we want them to. We called it the filling station at one stage, where people come in to top up and fill up themselves. They might come in tired or injured or in pain or just needing some relaxation. And basically, we go from the whole range of our core and strength is massage, deep tissue massage, and we go from there to therapeutic massage, to remedial. To sports, all the way through to reflexology, acupuncture. We had chiropody at one stage. We had osteopathy at one stage. We have, as I said, reflexology. We have the infrared sauna, and we also have some beauty as well. So we're doing the facials, waxing, etc. As in a more pampering way than you'd see in a fast turnaround. And we always want it to be that as people lie down, we're not rushing them to get up. We allow them to lie for a while to feel the effects of relaxation. As you know, you was constantly talking about living in a fast-paced world and sometimes slowing down. And that's exactly what we want people to do when they come into the space. Slow down for a while, have a cup of tea. We used to give the cup of tea before, a cup of water. Just stop and pause for a minute and have time for you. And that's the kind of space, and some of the well-being products we sell in there as well, incense, candles, diffusers. So it's all about the scents and the smells. As people come in, they would smell the incense that we've been burning, the sprays that Devon has made, the room sprays, they would have a sense of calm. All the rose quartz that is in there in quite specific points, they would feel the energy, a safe energy, a hugging energy, I can relax here, I can drop my shoulders here. So I'm glad that our team has been, over the years, have been very good, various teams over the years, but at the minute we're able to step back a bit and allow the team to continue our ethos. And it is a win-win for all the therapists and the staff and, team that is there, making sure that everyone's happy. But at the same time, the crux of it is allowing a client to feel at home, allowing a client to feel safe, allowing a client to feel totally relaxed. That is at the heart of it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, there's a few things I want to kind of still pick up on today, Karen. I'm curious to know, lots of people who might be watching this might be also either thinking about or starting out or running their own business. And as we know, it can be challenging. There can be all sorts of ups and downs. What advice would you give to somebody who's either thinking about doing what you've done, especially the kind of person who perhaps like yourself always felt at one point that they wanted to be their own boss, or the person who's starting out or maybe finding it difficult, or that they're working part-time as you had done and trying to get things moving? Could you give us, maybe it might be a blend between head and heart, some of those maybe 3 very practical tips and 3 heart-centered tips in terms of to help people to get their business going?
Well, one, there's something the book I'm writing now is about building life muscles. So in there, I had to put a bit about business because it is quite dear to us. And one of the things I say is just start the damn thing, just start it. So a lot of people pondering and wondering whether or not to go for it. Just start it. We can plan it as much as we want. Yes, you can do the business plan, etc. You can, of course, see if there's a need for your product, etc. But just start, because you will learn as you go along. You will learn how to price things. You will learn how to produce things. You will learn how to package things, as you go along. But just start somewhere, and start from you can start from the smallest amount. So we didn't have a lot of funds in the beginning, so we didn't take on a whole big building in the beginning. We took part of a gym and was downstairs in the gym. So start where you can is the next one. Start where you can, and therefore there are no excuses. Another practical one, yes, there is a bit of planning in there. So if you're working and trying to do this at the same time, it's about discipline. It really is about discipline and determination. Practically, it's blood, sweat and tears. When you're 7 days a week, 24/7, we're doing 14/6 nowadays. It's blood, sweat and tears for the first 3 years. There's no going around it. And then when we moved again into our own premises, it's still blood, sweat and tears again. 3 years, just on it and putting processes in place, systems, people. I think it's getting the systems in place, people, processes and systems. Once you've got those in place, your ethos is there and everyone that comes in will follow it.
And hard.
Yeah, that is hard a bit as well, because you will feel the right people. You will know for us, people have moved out slowly out of our companies at specific times. Yes, people have gone on to other things, which are great, but also those that don't quite fit will naturally fall out. So it's not about, oh, have I brought on the right person? Have I not? Energetically, if you work energetically, you will know, okay, this is the right person for this time. And after a few years, it might be, well, actually, they will feel it. We will feel it. They will know that they're moving out. They've got one foot out the door naturally, energetically. Yeah.
Then that tip around really trusting the energetics around people,
Yes.
who feels
Yeah.
right, and then knowing that there might be an ebb and flow, and they
Yeah.
might be right for a period of time, then move on.
Yeah.
2 more tips in terms of
trust your instinct.
Right.
As soon as we saw the place, for example, we both felt it and we both knew, okay, this is a place to go for. So it's about trusting your gut instinct. You will know within your body, your heart, just say your gut. And it is so true, because your gut tells you a lot. Your body tells you a lot. If it's not right, you'll feel uncomfortable. You'll feel, edgy, but at the same time, watch that, because at the same time, when you're excited and when it's a bit uncomfortable, it's also adrenaline and drive and excitement. So there's the scary, okay, no, I shouldn't do this, and stop. And there's also the adrenaline. I know this is a bit out of my comfort zone, but I'm going to do it because it's so exciting and it feels right. It's that type of thing. So it's just knowing the difference between that gut instinct. I feel the other one, probably following the heart, is having faith. As you make a leap, have faith that it's going to work out either way, even if there's a bit of a failure in certain aspects of the business, or the whole business failed. At least you've learned some lessons. At least you've learned how not to do things, and then you go again, try again with a different product or a different place or a different person. Try again, because if it's something that's you really want to do, that is in your desire, you will find a way around to do it. Just like now, I always thought, 5 years ago, so how am I ever going to find the time to write? And yet putting processes and people and systems in place has enabled me to, obviously with the lockdown last year, it's enabled me to have more time, but I already had done my other book in 2018. I carved out space for me to write, because it was my desire, and I found a way to do it. I thought, why am I always on front of house? Why am I always the first person to be called when someone's off sick? No, I had to put another person in place, so that I'm not the second person that they call, so that I can be released to do the other desires of my heart, as it were. So follow the desire of your heart. You will find a way, you will find a solution. If it is to be, you'll find a solution for it.
And just a very, very quick thought before we touch on the books, and very, very briefly, I just wanted to touch on this thing about, you talked about hiring people. Now, many sole traders will be literally the SOLE traders who are heart-centered and may only ever be them in their particular business. And many therapists and so on, that's what how the nature of their business. But some people might get to a point where they're wanting to take people on and so on. How did you decide to do that? And did you go and how did you decide around whether you were going to work with people independently, that people would be just freelance, be their own boss independently, or to employ, which of course incurs quite a lot of costs? And do you want to just give a couple of tips to people who might be weighing that up at some point, thinking, I'd love to do that, but I'm daunted by it, or I wouldn't know how to begin?
Yeah. Part-time. So you don't have to take on somebody full-time. What we did in the first scenario of the 5 years, we was in the gym basement. We had self-employed people, but we employed our reception. And then we discovered, well, actually, looking at the facts and figures, which you have to look at as well, what would bring the most revenue, what would bring the most profit? And in the end, it was definitely making sure that massage and reflexology and beauty belonged to Mind Body Therapy Centre and not to other people. So we changed the model when we went into the new place to employ people that do massage and reflexology and beauty, and that's the model that we chose. As things change, some people that we had worked with as self-employed away work, doing events, etc., we love them still, and they said, well, is there any space for us to do some work in the centre? So we have our core team, which are employed, and the front of house team, which is employed, but as you said, very, very expensive. So we also have some self-employed people that cover some of the shifts, that because we're open 7 days a week, we have a lot of shifts to cover. So some of them should cover the evening, some of the other days and the weekend shifts. So there's a mixture at the moment that we use. And when we do, for example, we do a lot of community work. When we have, like last year, we was bringing on a lot of counsellors, but they're all self-employed, and they were able to reach out to a lot of vulnerable people. We was able to expand and detract as we need the people. So I would say own it as you need them, bring them on, but you can start part-time.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, we've got so much still to cover in just a little bit of time, but I'm loving that. Well, I want to talk a little bit about, I want to talk about the books, but maybe just before we leave the books, head on to the books, let's talk a little bit about the social enterprise. So you've talked a little bit about the Mind and Body Therapy Centre and the story behind that. And you talked about that you touched on the social enterprise. Therapy for healing.
Yes.
And I had a quick look at the website, and I love that. I just literally had a quick look at the page, and I just love the energy of that, schools, prisons, young people, and so on. Tell me about what is social enterprise to you? Why is it dear to your heart? And what would you encourage? Do you think we should all be doing that, or some of that at some point in our life? I know I used to be a volunteer for the Samaritan and co-director for the Samaritan Central London, and myself, and it's been a key pivotal part of my life and my career. Not that I do it kind of currently, but for me, I think there's something about it that's very powerful. Tell us just very briefly, how did that come about? Why is it important? And would you encourage people to get involved?
Totally. I think we were doing a lot of community work anyway. From Devon started doing it, and then someone said to us, we was doing it through Mind Body Therapy, and someone said to us, well, as carers, Lewisham wanted us to give therapy services to some of their carers, and then their funding ran out, and someone said to us, well, why don't you set up a social enterprise and they can go for funding and still carry on that service? So it started from us doing a low-cost clinic really at the centre, and they said, well, start a social enterprise, get some funding and continue the work. So we started that, we continued the work. We through them went on to autistic children, helping some a group of autistic children actually at a youth club, and then from there it just expanded into doing work with housing groups, with residents, with people in that have got disabilities, long-term needs, really those that need long-term help but can't really afford the private care, in a sense of paying for full-blown massage. So that's kind of where it came from, and that started really the same year as the Mind Body Therapy Centre, and we started from there to say, well, okay, if we're going to offer this low-cost clinic service, we can still do that. When we've got funds, they can pay a very nominal amount, and if we haven't got funds, then they go back to the low-cost clinic amount. And that's kind of how it all came together. And it came from Devon doing loads of voluntary work beforehand, giving the services free, and out of that came so many other bookings that we got paid for, because someone followed him and said, okay, I want you now. I now work for occupational health, for example, come and do some work for the staff. So to me, it's the giving back, which I think you will always get back in return, either in paid work or in that feeling of helping so many people. We helped hundreds of people last year and into this year over the phone in giving counselling, to befriending, mentoring, coaching, and then physical therapists when we could have the centre open. And that feeling that even the therapists and the counsellors get of, they, some of the stories that come back and, you helped me so much, you helped me to change my life, or you helped me to, we've come across so many women, through domestic violence as well, that have come into our books, basically through the counsellors, and the impact on their life in that time of crisis has been amazing. Sometimes we've only been able to give 6, but sometimes up to 12 sessions. We'd love to give more, because we know the long-term effect of how much it can help people's mental health, especially during this time as well. So it's very much a need that was dominant last year, but it's still a need this year. We've got some funds, but not as much as last year with the COVID recovery and everything else, but it's still so much a need for it. And people are coming into the centre and saying, I know you do T4H, is it possible to go onto your local clinic? It's got some carers coming through. We've got people that are asking for counselling, but can't afford it. People are in all sorts of positions and situations, and I think if we can give back on one hand and receive on the other, then we're kind of trying to do the right balance, but at the same time go for funds and make sure that our therapists and ourselves in the back office get paid as well. And it might not be as much as what we would get in the corporate, but it's still decent in the sense of making sure that everyone's still gets paid for their services, which is what we're keen to do.
Really, really, really powerful, really, really powerful. And I like that, the sound of that, because also I'd imagine as people exploring differing models, that I love how that emerged from something where we're just purely volunteering time and support, where people got something that benefit from it, to free, through to where people may be paying you to make it available at the point of service for service users, or through to where some people can pay a nominal amount.
That's right, yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, well, before we close, talk about the two books. First of all, I guess, let's talk about the Healing Hugs book
Yeah.
very briefly. And it's very, very interesting that, I mean, some people may be, let's see the cover of that again. I guess that some people might be, wow, fantastic.
Some lovely illustrations in there as well.
Tell us in a
Lovely.
nutshell, imagine us an intelligent 12-year-old. How would you describe this book?
I would describe it as something that is very easy to read. Some people that have read it already, it's been on Amazon and Kindle for a while. We've just got the softback out now, so it's available on the therapyforlife.net website, our Mind Body Therapy website, and it's very easy to read. We've done some research. I was asking different people about all the types of hugs that they would love to give, and I'm coming from a very huggy family, and it was like dying slowly in a mental and soul spirit way to not be able to see my family. What says hug them? And even when I did see them, it's like not being able to give that hug. I'm like, this is wrong. It just doesn't feel right. It's really doing something to all of us. And it's not right. We need that human connection. Yeah.
This, Karen, something that you noticed particularly during the years where we had COVID-19.
Totally.
But were you getting a sense that, because it sounds as though you started working on this book prior to that, were you getting a sense that coming from a huggy family, that this was very, very important and you wanted to bring it to people's consciousness anyway?
I think so, because as we said, I think when we wanted our own space, 6 years ago, so 7 years, we wanted our own space. So when people came in, they felt that hug when they're coming into the center. So, and they can go and drop their shoulders. So it's something that we had thought about before, about so many people, I know, feeling rejected or damaged, or, coming from places and spaces of hurt and disappointment with their families. So many stories that come into the center over the years. And, not everyone wants that hug, as I do say in the book. Not everyone is touchy-feely, but at the same time, even if it's a touch on the arm, or they're feeling it through your words as well, which I do mention in there about hugging with your words. It's that kind of holding somebody close, holding them up, even keeping them going, giving them something that is in their day that that meant something to me. Oh, I needed that.
Very powerful. So I love that the range of what you're talking about there, from the full on hug to sometimes it's funny that I'm almost like from the opposite. I'm not from particularly huggy family at all. I do know in certain things that sometimes just a touch on somebody's arm at the right moment, when somebody, just to let them, funnily enough, it's a friend of mine, I was playing a game of squash with them earlier on today, and just checking with them, and just that there, that, and holding the space also, and as you said, people with the words. Okay, so tell us about the new book, which sounds as though you're just finishing off, just finished. Tell us about that book.
That one is still work in progress. Work in progress. I've got our daughter's getting married this year, so July, August will be very busy. So I won't get back to it till September or so. So it might not be out to the new year. But it's building life muscles. So many people that again have come through into the centre to be helped up, or to be shown a way, or how do you manage, how do you do it, how do you cope, how do I do this, I've got this issue in my life. And with our children, we've always talked about building muscles basically, to be in your work, in your career, in your business. It's about building the stamina, building resistance, in a sense to challenges in life, in a sense that you will continue, just keep, you keep going. Yes, you stop and pause and you recover, but you build that kind of stamina and strength and determination to, no matter what the challenges in life, and they can be many, and people have been through many challenges, in a short space of time over the pandemic years. It's you dig deep, you find that inner strength, you realize the strength that you didn't know that you had after heartache and breakup and loss and pain, and coming from pain, you somehow dig deep to find that inner strength to keep going. And that's in a nutshell what the book is about, building life muscles. Yeah,
that's wonderful. I think that's such a nice moment. I think that's a nice moment to almost begin to kind of wrap it up. What can I just ask you, in your journey, what's helped you to build those life muscles? Because I'd imagine that going on this journey, being one's own boss. We haven't even brought in color, gender. We still live in a world where, and you probably live through your work, where those things can play out hugely, be it when one's in the corporate space, other spaces. How is it that you found those life muscles and continue to find the strength also to support other people on their journey as well?
I think it's the topping up. I talk about it in Power Up, you know, and I think that another book is coming after that as well, the Power Up too. I've got to, because there's so much more to put in there in the sense of topping up your pots in life. So if I say, okay, top up your career, top up your family, you top up on relationships, you top up on your social life, you top up on your hobbies. It's keeping those topped up. And every so often, one or the other might go down. And then for me, in particular, when I talk about a bit in the book about diversity and inclusion, it's about mentally being tired, you know, of always having to prove yourself or always having to do something in a business, always having to make decisions all the time. You have to be there all the time. And it can be, as you say, exhausting. But for me, the top up is definitely, you know, my faith, my strength, my, you know, my relationship with the universe, my relationship with whatever you want to call it, because I'm coming from a Pentecostal background, but I don't like the labels. So my strengths come from source, what different schools, one energy. My strength also comes in that prayer meditation, that prayer we call it, the time that we spend in those quiet moments, the pause moments, the silence. I talk about the 16 minutes a day, at least having that, to have those pause moments, that tops me up spiritually and my soul. Topping up with family is a given, a must for me. Family or friends, whoever you call your family, topping that up. It feeds your soul, just like the hugs, it feeds your soul. So to me, that again is about topping up with family and friends. And probably the last one is about topping up with community. So the community around you, people like yourselves, you know, who I have called on, you know, when I've been in need, people that are surround you, your neighbors, your people in your sports club, you know, your people at your gym, people at your workplace, whoever it is that you call upon, people that look like you, that feel like you know what I mean, that feel the same things as you. Top up from those, you know, dig into those, join a club, join a community, join something that, as you said a bit earlier, it's really good to be joining something, because, or be a part of something, or volunteer with something, because you are with like-minded people, and that tops up your soul and spirit. And also, it's definitely on the physical side, it's the exercise. De-stressing is totally the exercise, the walk, just as you were saying, I think on one of your podcasts is about the walking in the morning. It was very good, the squash that you do. It's so important for the mind, body and soul. Yeah, someone watches, I'm watching I'm watching you as well.
Well, it's just doing that the tape. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, it's just in the physical exercise. So you're talking about it's interesting, isn't it? It sounds as though we talked about all of these things. The mind is having that, of those life skills. We talked about the body, the well-being, and the physical, and the spirit.
All of them, topping them up. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And that's what keeps me going. Top up every pot. It will keep you going. And to be able to top up your own, so that you've got something to give to others. Yeah.
Karen, it's been really amazing speaking to you.
Thank you.
Say thank you for the work that you're doing and continue to do. I can just tell from speaking to you the energy and the healing and the not just the healing, but that energizing, you know, empowering others, which is really, really fantastic. And I'm sure that lots of people who watch this will feel empowered and encouraged to begin, or to carry on, or to push further forward, or to go take that next jump. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, just such a pleasure. I'm about to
press
the recording.
Thank you.